Alright everybody, Space Monkey from IndieRaps.com here with Ned Dom Chop Shop Productions with the legendary Carnage the Executioner, aka TSwifts, C3XL, Mister, all that shit. So for some of us who might be new to you, why don't you just give us a little brief history on kind of how you got started, what inspired you, and what really made it stick?
Music inspired me. I used to just hear music all the time. My mom used to play the old classics, the old R&B, stuff like Barry White and Anita Baker and Patti LaBelle's and Al Green, Luther Vandross, stuff like that. And I just really got into listening to that type of music and feeling it to the point where I'm not a singer and I couldn't sing, but I would memorize the parts of the songs so I could hit all the little harmonies and stuff that the people were singing. And I just realized that at an early age, I had a really good memory for music. So then when like Michael Jackson hit, it was like, that was my shit. Then, Run DMC hit, that was my shit. And then that's when I started saying, okay, now it's time for me to figure out what I can do to like express my musical, interest. So I started breakdancing, and then I heard Fat Boys and I started beatboxing. And beatboxing was actually the first music I really made. Just before that, I wanted to be a drummer, so I used to put pillows on the couch and get wooden spoons and make myself feel like I was playing the drums to every song that was on MTV. But I wasn't really making music. It's when beatboxing hit is when I started really making music, I guess, So from like age 9, I started teaching myself how to beatbox. And I would say I was probably pretty good at beatboxing by the time I was 11 or 12. I was probably pretty fucking good. And I could do everything the greats who I was motivated to beatbox by could do. I could imitate Dougie Fresh, I could imitate Buffalo the Human Beatbox from Fat Boys, and that was it. And then I started writing rhymes at about 12 or 13 years old, and that's when I came up with the name T-Swift, and I started, writing. But I wasn't really serious about being an MC, because I didn't really know. I mean, how can you be serious at like 9, 10, 11, 12? You don't know you're going to be a musician, you just do shit because you like it. So it was like a little underground hobby for me, and not a lot of people knew I was writing rhymes and beatboxing, So it wasn't until I met this dude named Excalibur, who was like, yo, your shit is dope, you should actually do something with this. So then him and I formed a little crew, and we were rapping in junior high and high school and shit like that. So that's when it started to really kind of turn into something. Recorded my first demo when I was like 16, and then it started going from there.
And you're still with Excalibur?
I still do work with him. Yep, I still do. Yep, he's part of Hecatomb. He all the release parties and stuff I've done. He did the video with the Chop Shop thing. That's my dude for life. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Excalibur, a real motherfucker right there.
So what exactly is Hecatomb, and how did that all get started?
Hecatomb is my label first and foremost. It's the label, the imprint that I have taken on as a way to put my own music out. So if there was no anybody else, if there was no Fill in the Breaks, if there was no affiliation with anybody else, there would be Carnage records coming out under Hecatomb. That's my thing. And then I formed it into a crew when I started meeting a lot of people who I thought were good people first and then talented second. And I started kind of bringing them into the circle, and Hecatomb became a crew then. And we span all over. I got like a couple members in Germany. As a producer in Germany, Repeat 23, that's my dude. He's probably the dude who produced the most songs on my record. He had the most. So he's in Hecatomb, and then there's some people in LA, and there's a guy in New Hampshire. We're just scattered, but we're a group too. What I'm saying?
So the Hecatomb Bandcamp has the First Blood album.
Yeah,
posted that today.
That was a mixtape.
So is that a lot of the artists that you have?
Yep, those are. I think almost everybody who's affiliated with Hecatomb is on that in some way. The guys who put that together really did a good job. Capacity and Hater Dave, they really worked to like try to represent everybody. And there were some people who were like getting shit to me late and all this, and I was just like, well, wait, you know what I'm saying? I wanted everybody to have something represented on it. And I was super busy, so I just kind of was like, you know, I'm gonna let you guys take it, and then once y'all tell me what y'all got, I'll look at the list and then I'll approve it. But I can't even have anything to do with it now, because if I start, I'm gonna start turning into micromanager, and I know how I am about shit. So I was like, y'all do it. Y'all do it. And it's good to have some things you can delegate to some people who you know will get the job done. And those guys did a good job. And I mean, the night it got released, I mean, they just put it up at 9 o'clock at night, and then by 8 o'clock in the morning, they were writing about it in fucking City Pages on the City Pages blog. It was crazy. I was like, what? You know, people were hitting me up like, yo, I got the new Hecatomb mixtape, and I'm like, who's what? Then I go on fucking, you know, City Pages and it's on there, and I'm like, what? And then Easton hits me up and like, yo, what's up, man? You didn't tell me you were putting out a mixtape. I was like, I didn't know it was gonna go. We just kind of dropped the link, and then people started catching on to it, which is kind of cool. It's dope to have people remember what was happening back then, even if it isn't happening on the same level now. And Hecatomb was doing shit. It's just everybody is in their own world. Everybody's doing their own thing. But it's still a crew, and I ain't kicking nobody out. You know, it's like some people do a lot more work than others. Some people are always in people's faces. Some people are not in people's faces as much. But it's still all love. You know, I still love all y'all motherfuckers. Some of y'all just need to do a little bit more work. Come on with it.
Yeah, I was just listening to that today, and Unleashed on there. It's fucking sick, dude. You just got brutal.
Had you ever heard that one off of my Sense of Sound album? It was originally like on the Sense of Sound album, Book of B and me made the beat. That was the second song we ever did, and Eyedea really liked it. I remember he was like, yeah, you need to put this on some shit. And when I was recording it, when I was done, he was just looking at me like, what just happened? And I was just like, I just turned into Beast. I just went into Beast mode on it, and I just kind of did it in one take, and except for the part that chops off, and then I did the little section or whatever. But I did it in one take like that. It was like, just like really emotional. It had to be like a monster was coming out. That's Unleashed. You know, I had to like become that persona. So I'm glad you pointed that one out. That was a fun one.
Good deal.
That was a fun one.
So you kind of explained to some of us, especially some new people, your on-stage process. Because I know the first time I seen you working the pedals and beatboxing and shit, and it's kind of like, what the fuck is going on? How can you still be making that beat? And, you know, what equipment are you using? What are you doing up there? It's kind of your process.
I got a Boss RC20 loop station that's connected to a Digitech vocal effects processor 300. And then those two are together, and the microphone goes into the Digitech, and I'm able to loop effects from the Digitech onto the RC20. So I have the flexibility of turning the effects off and just beatboxing raw, or, you know, turning it on and looping the effects in with my organic regular beatboxing. And then now that I've extended my board a little bit, I have a vocal, what do you call it? A fucking octave pedal. I have a bass octave pedal where I can I just click that on, and it drops my voice a couple octaves and puts a little robot type of effect on it. And then I got a guitar distortion pedal too. So I got them all kind of hooked up, and I play with them. Whatever I feel at the moment is how I lay it down. I don't plan too much. I just I go in balls first and just be like, whatever happens. Like, I've had some things I'm like, that was alright, but I've had some things that were like, yo, that shit was stupid, you know. So then I just started expanding on it. I've been doing this Led Zeppelin thing a lot with people. Like, I did it last night, and people were like, yeah, this shit was kind of dope. So I ain't gonna tell you exactly what it was. Y'all gotta come to a show to see that shit.
So you released Ill Chemistry with Desdemona on a French label. How'd that whole French connection happen?
It happened, me and Dez got asked to host a block party, the Black Dog Block Party in Lower Town, St. Paul. And the owner of it, her name is Sarah. She has a husband who lives in France who owns a record label, Hope Street Records, NATO/Hope Street Records out in France. And you know, since she was putting on the thing, we were there. He came to the block party, like he was in town, because he doesn't live here. He lives in France, and he just comes back and forth, you know, to be with his son and his wife or whatever. And we were doing the show, and it happened when Los Nativos was performing. They were doing their set on an iPod, but the iPod wouldn't work. And then they were like, man, how can we do our set? And they were like one of the, you know, kind of headliners. And I was like, well, if you tell me what you need, I can make your beats. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, man, I just, you know, then I just had the Boss RC20. I didn't have anything else. It was just that and a microphone. And they were like, okay. And I was like, all right, so tell me some shit. Like, what's the song? Give me a song. And they were like, well, this one, and the tempo kind of goes like this. And I was like, all right, so if I do this, y'all can work. And they're like, yeah, give me another one. Oh, yeah, this one, blah, 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 blah. Did the same type of thing. And we were like, all right, let's start with these two and then go on the stage and just see what happens. And we'll just take the rest from there. I'm like, they're like, really? I was like, yeah, we don't need to practice. Let's just go. Y'all just give me the tempo. I'll fucking do it. So we went up there and they're doing stuff. I'd be like, okay, what's the next song? Give me the tempo. That quick, bam, loop a beat, put stuff on top of it as they're rapping and stuff. And then they got to like their third or fourth song. And the producer was like, yo, so this next one has like a guitar. And he's like, something. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, he's looking at me. He's like, you can make a guitar sound? And I looked at him. And looked at Dez, and I was like, dude, I can do anything. And then everybody started clapping. And I did it. I did their little guitar thing or whatever. And when I got off the stage, the dude, John is his name, from NATO, came up to me. He was like, I'm going to sign you. I was like,
brain leaking out of his head and shit.
Yeah,
like,
he was just like,
shit,
he's like, that. When you said that, I was like, I gotta sign this dude. I gotta sign him and Desdemona, because me and Des were hosting it. We were beatboxing and performing, you know, rapping and singing, you know, in between sets, and then kind of putting it all together as the host. So he saw that, and then he saw me do that, and he was like, oh, if this dude can like do what he says he can do, he can make all kind of instruments with his mouth. We can make a record, and that's how it happened. He saw that, and he was like, I'm signing you, and it was cool since then. You know, so I'm glad. Thanks Los Nativos for having a janky ass iPod, because that shit pretty much probably got me signed. You know what I'm saying? To a French label.
So, well, this comic book I've been hearing about. You mentioned, is that tied in with that? Is that still happening?
Well, it's a French comic book that's written in English. Like the whole story is basically in English, and this dude. Fabrice is just a genius. He's a comic book head, and he writes comic books too. So he saw me performing in France for one of the festivals Desdemona and I did. He's affiliated with somebody who knows the people at NATO Records, and him and I just kind of hit it off at the show. And then he was like, "Yeah, you want to come and stay with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." So I went and for a period of time, the first time I was there, I stayed with him, and we just really hit it off. We were talking about music and comic books and stuff like that. And the next time I went there, he was like, yo, I'm writing a comic book and I want you to be in it. And I was like, oh, that's dope. So he kind of told me the story about it. It's called One Hit Wonder. And he's making it so that I start out as like a young kid, like 12 or 13 years old or whatever. And then the story evolves to me being an adult in the story too. So you're gonna see me the way I look now as a 13-year-old, and then you're gonna see me as an adult. And the main guy in the story is a hitman. He was a child star, and later on he became a hitman, and his job is to infiltrate the mafia, and I'm his right-hand man. So that's how that.
Very cool, man. Well, keep us informed.
Oh yeah. I got to keep myself informed. I got to write a couple songs for that, and I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to, but I'm going to.